Hi guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So it's been about a month since the iPhone 14 Pro has come out and I've been using it. So I want to share my thoughts on how this phone has performed over the last month and try and give it a longer term review on things that actually make a difference in the way that we use our phones. So one of the main things that Apple were promoting during their event was the fact that we have a kind of brand new camera system, but the biggest detail being the fact that we upgraded from a 12 megapixel sensor from last year's iPhone to a new 48 megapixel sensor. And I think that is actually probably the biggest improvement. That and the wide angle camera or the wide angle lens has been massively improved. So the wide angle lens looks much better in general, like way better in low light. And in terms of just pure optical quality, it's much sharper and you get a lot more accurate colors, just like you would get in the telephoto lens or the main camera lens. So those are a big thumbs up from me. I do shoot most of my photos in 12 megapixels although, because those 48 megapixel files are absolutely massive. I mean, they're like 80, 100 megs each. And by the time you're using this phone for 3 months and you're already out of storage, even if you get the 1 terabyte option, taking 1 terabyte taking 48 megapixel photos. So I've been sticking with the 12, but the ProRes RAW photos actually look fantastic. It's like, it kind of makes me want to shoot ProRes RAW the whole time, but I know I can't just because storage is limited. But really good job with this new camera system. I think if you were an avid photographer or you just really like taking photos and you like messing with the details and the shadows and the highlights and the colors in your photos, I think this would actually be a quite significant upgrade over the 13 Pro. On the video side as well, we have this new active stabilization mode, but honestly, the optical stabilization on the regular images and the regular video is perfectly fine. Unless you're like sprinting or walking incredibly aggressively, you won't really need that really aggressive punched in optical stabilization that active stabilization mode gives you. Another big improvement is actually the brightness of this main screen. So now instead of 1200 peak brightness, it actually goes up to 2000 nits of peak brightness. And in sunlight, particularly outside, you do notice the difference between that 1200 nit and 2000 nit display. It looks much more clear and it just jumps out through the screen at you in bright sunlight. To be honest, not a lot of us, I think, use our phones in just blown out situations. We're just sitting in the sun on our phones. But if you were, or you just want to take a quick peek at the weather app or the Google Maps app, is actually really fantastic to look at. Another thing on the screen you might have noticed is this new punch out that Apple has replaced from the notch. To be honest, it doesn't really make a difference, notch or this punch out. There are a bunch of cool animations that goes through and you can interact with the pill, but in actual reality, it takes up so much space still, and this little bit of screen in between the notch or in between the punch out and the top of the screen is so small, it feels like the notch is there anyways, because Apple doesn't really make use of that screen, and neither do videos or any game apps make use of that part of that screen. So it really just feels like a notch. It's definitely an Apple gimmick. The animations are cool, but nothing game changing in terms of just visually or like everyday interaction. You don't really interact with the pill all too often. Internally, in terms of speed of this phone, it's still that ProMotion display. You get that 120 hertz when you are using the phone. It's the same as the 13 Pro. Outside of the screen brightness, it's the same. You get a little bit more resolution, but because the phone size, the screen sizes are the same on the phones, you don't really notice the difference when you're just using it throughout the day. You have all your apps and your settings, you're really taking quick glances, or you're watching a video, you turn up the brightness for the video. So in terms of things like that, it doesn't really make a big difference. So if you're thinking about upgrading to this new phone, I would say that realistically, if you have a 13 Pro already, I don't really think it constitutes paying the price to upgrade to this new phone just for the cameras. The screen is essentially the same. You can, if you want to, if you really like taking photos, to upgrade to this new camera, or you really taking videos, or you're a content creator, something like that, I would say go ahead and do the upgrade. You get a little bit better optical image on like a daily basis. But honestly, I think the biggest upgrade would come from if you're actually using a 12 or under, just because you get that new screen. The brightness is super nice, especially when you're out and about throughout your day. And the camera upgrade is very significant. You do get the new telephoto lens, which is really nice. And the new wide angle lens is really nice as well. But yeah, that's it from me. Have a good day.